In the bustling heart of a busy city, the afternoon sun casts long shadows on the streets as people hurry about their daily routines. Amidst the crowd, a scene begins to unfold that captures the attention of passers-by. A young black man, Marcus Johnson, dressed casually in jeans and a t-shirt, walks confidently down the street, his backpack slung over one shoulder. Suddenly, he's stopped by a white police officer, Officer Daniel Hart, who steps out of his patrol car with a serious look on his face. The area is a common hub for both locals and tourists, creating a vibrant backdrop of shops, street vendors, and cafes. As Officer Hart approaches Marcus, their interaction is initially calm, marked by routine questions. The officer explains to Marcus that he fits the description of a suspect involved in a recent incident. Marcus listens, his expression a mix of confusion and concern, as onlookers begin to take notice of the unfolding situation. Welcome back to PlotTwister. Before we unravel today's mystery, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell so you're always in the loop. Introducing Marcus Johnson, a 28-year-old graphic designer known in his neighborhood for his creative talents and dedication to community service. Just this morning, he was helping set up a charity event aimed at providing local kids with free art supplies. Marcus is well-liked and respected, often seen as someone who brings positivity and innovation to his community initiatives. Officer Daniel Hart, on the other hand, is a seasoned policeman with over 15 years on the force. Known among his peers for his adherence to the law and a no-nonsense approach to his duty, Hart believes in maintaining order and safety above all. His reputation as strict but fair precedes him, and he takes pride in his work, believing that each day presents an opportunity to serve and protect. As Officer Hart asks for Marcus's ID and begins to explain that Marcus is being detained for further questioning, the mood starts to shift. Marcus cooperates, his hand slightly raised in a gesture of compliance, but his eyes reveal a growing distress. The officer's tone is professional but firm, as he mentions that Marcus's appearance closely matches that of a robbery suspect they've been tracking. Onlookers now pull out their phones, capturing videos and murmuring amongst themselves about the justice of the situation. The tension is palpable as Marcus, maintaining his composure, is led towards the police car, his future uncertain as the camera of a nearby observer zooms in, framing a moment that would soon ripple across the community. As Marcus is handcuffed and led to the back of the patrol car, the procedure is textbook, but every click of the cuffs echoes loudly in the suddenly silent crowd. Officer Hart remains professional throughout, explaining the steps he's taking, citing that Marcus is being detained for further questioning based on his resemblance to a reported suspect. Marcus nods, his face a mask of calm, but his eyes are wide, the reality of the situation sinking in as he's gently guided into the vehicle. Around them, the mood among the bystanders shifts from curiosity to concern. Several people start recording the incident on their smartphones, their whispers growing louder. "He didn't even do anything," someone mutters within earshot of the camera. A woman questions loudly, "Why are you arresting him?" Her voice carries over the murmur, challenging the officer's actions. This vocal reaction from the crowd begins to attract even more attention, drawing a small crowd that starts to question the fairness of the arrest. Flashback to earlier that day where Marcus was setting up an art station at a local park, laughing and interacting with kids and parents alike. He was handing out brushes and encouraging creativity, his genuine smile and easy demeanor making him a favorite among the community members. These scenes of joy and community service starkly contrast with the current tension, highlighting the disparity between Marcus's true character and the situation he now finds himself in. Back at the precinct, Officer Hart discusses with his colleagues the basis for Marcus's arrest. He lays out the evidence as he understands it, descriptions for witnesses, the location of the recent crimes, and how Marcus fits into his puzzle. Despite his firm belief in following procedure, there's a hint of doubt in his voice, a slight uncertainty that maybe this arrest was too swift, too based on superficial details. The segment ends with Marcus sitting alone in the back of the police car, his head bowed but his spirit not broken. The car drives off, the camera focusing on his face through the barred window. Behind him, the crowd's murmurs fade into a single powerful chant for justice. This cliffhanger leaves viewers on the edge, pondering the fine line between law enforcement and personal liberties, between safety and prejudice. The scene cuts with the setting sun casting long shadows over the street, symbolizing the dark turn of events in what was just another ordinary day. Detective Laura Gibson enters the scene, a seasoned investigator known for her sharp eye and dedication to justice. She begins reviewing the arrest footage, her gaze intense as she scrutinizes every frame of the video taken by bystanders and the body cam footage from Officer Hart. Her office, cluttered with case files and notes, becomes the center of a deep dive into the details of Marcus's arrest. She starts cross-referencing the descriptions provided by witnesses with the information in front of her. Meanwhile, the community's reaction grows stronger outside the police station. Social media erupts with hashtags and calls for justice for Marcus. Clips of his arrest circulate widely, sparking outrage and drawing attention from local news outlets. The community organizes a rally outside the precinct with signs reading "Justice for Marcus" and "End Racial Profiling." The voices of the community are loud and clear, echoing through the streets, demanding accountability. Back in her office, Detective Gibson finds inconsistencies in the witness statements and the physical descriptions that led to Marcus's detainment. She notes discrepancies in the height and build descriptions compared to Marcus's actual physical attributes. As she pores over the crime scene photos from the robbery and compares them with Marcus's arrest video, she grows increasingly convinced that something doesn't add up. Officer Hart, meanwhile, begins to face his own doubts. He reviews the case files again, his brow furrowed as he reads through the witness statements and looks at the evidence gathered so far. The growing public scrutiny and the detective's questions start to weigh on him, causing him to rethink the arrest. He's seen discussing with a fellow officer, sharing his concerns about possibly having made a premature decision based on incomplete information. The investigation takes a sharp turn when a key witness, previously confident in their identification of Marcus as the suspect, now seems uncertain. They're brought back for a follow-up interview with Detective Gibson, where, under careful questioning, they admit that their initial identification might have been influenced by the stress of the situation and the quick glimpse they caught of the suspect. This revelation adds a significant twist to the case, casting further doubt on the validity of Marcus's arrest and stirring more questions about the real perpetrator's identity. Detective Gibson reviews the new surveillance footage from the charity event, displaying clear and undeniable images of Marcus engaging with children and adults far from the crime scene. Each frame, stamped with the exact time of the robbery, confirms his alibi, showing Marcus active and involved in the community event. This revelation unfolds across multiple monitors in her cluttered office, providing solid evidence of Marcus's innocence. At the same time, Officer Hart watches the same footage on his laptop in the dimly lit break room. With each view, the gravity of his mistake becomes more apparent. He pauses the video on a frame of Marcus laughing with a child, the timestamp in clear view. Hart sits back, the weight of the error pressing down on him, and he acknowledges to himself the misjudgment he's made. Back at the police department, senior officers and the public relations team are in a serious meeting. They're already discussing the implications of the new evidence and planning how to publicly address the mistake. They draft an apology to Marcus, aiming to mitigate the damage and begin repairing the trust broken by the wrongful arrest. Meanwhile, Marcus sits quietly in his cell, sketching in a small notebook to pass the time and keep his mind off the stressful situation. Despite the bleak surroundings, he maintains a sense of hope, waiting patiently for any news that might lead to his release. All of a sudden, Detective Gibson receives an unexpected phone call. Picking up the receiver, she listens intently as a new witness comes forward, proving a crucial tip that points to the real perpetrator. The information is a game changer, introducing a significant twist to the case. Gibson takes rapid notes, her expression one of intense focus, as she begins to understand the broader implications of this new lead. Detective Gibson acts swiftly on the new information received from the anonymous tipster. She collaborates with her team to trace the real perpetrator, leading to the discovery of additional CCTV footage. This crucial evidence captures a former police officer known to Officer Hart committing the robbery. This revelation is shocking, and it swiftly moves through the department, changing the course of the investigation and clearing Marcus's name once and for all. With the real culprit identified and the evidence confirming his involvement, the police department moves to correct their mistake. Marcus is released from custody, and the moment he steps out of the detention center, he's met with cheers from a crowd of supporters gathered outside. The emotional reunion with his family is captured, showing hugs and tears of relief. Marcus's dignity and strength throughout his ordeal resonate with those around him. In the wake of Marcus's release, Officer Hart steps forward to make a public apology. At a press conference with media cameras rolling, he openly admits the mistake and expresses his deep regret. His apology, sincere and heartfelt, is directed towards Marcus and the community, acknowledging the pain caused by his error and the importance of accountability in law enforcement. Following this, a town hall meeting is organized to foster dialogue between the police and the community. The meeting focuses on reconciliation and discussions about implementing changes in police procedures to prevent similar incidents. Marcus attends, speaking about his experience and his hopes for improved community police relations. His words are powerful, calling for understanding and systemic change. Officer Hart actively participates in setting up a new event at the charity where Marcus works. His involvement in arranging chairs, hanging decorations, and interacting with community members marks a sincere effort toward personal redemption and rebuilding trust, symbolizing a commitment to positive change and fairness within the community. Marcus addresses a crowd at the community center, detailing his experiences and the support that sustained him. He emphasizes the power of community and perseverance, his words resonating with gratitude and determination. As he speaks, the room is filled with the energy of collective commitment to change. Immediately following, a panel of experts, community leaders, and law enforcement officials engage in a robust discussion on racial profiling and police reform. They explore the necessity of improved training, better engagement between police and communities, and substantive policy changes. The dialogue is rich and constructive, aimed at bridging the divide between the community and the police. Detective Gibson takes a moment to explain the crucial development in Marcus's case. She reveals how security footage finally pointed to a former police officer known to Officer Hart as the real perpetrator, highlighting the complex challenges of trust and accountability within the police force. Marcus shares his vision for the future, infused with optimism about the reforms already in progress and the positive changes on the horizon. His commitment to being part of this change inspires others, encouraging them to join in the efforts to improve relations between the community and the police. At the charity event, Marcus is surrounded by children and community members. He speaks about the importance of forgiveness and unity, stressing the need to come together to build a stronger, more just society. His final words leave a profound impact on everyone present, echoing the themes of hope and collective strength. What are your thoughts on the twist we uncovered today? Comment your ideas below, and make sure to like and subscribe for a daily dose of drama and mystery. See you later with another twist.
The police brutality against black women shocks the neighborhood, but then this happens. On a quiet evening in a close-knit neighborhood, the usual calm is shattered by the piercing sound of police sirens. Flashing red and blue lights bathe the streets in a chaotic glow. Drawing the attention of the residents, people step out of their homes, concern etched on their faces as they gather on the sidewalks, trying to make sense of the scene unfolding before them. In the middle of the commotion is Lisa Johnson, a well-known figure in the neighborhood. Lisa, a single mother who works tirelessly to provide for her young daughter, Maya, has always been a source of warmth and kindness to those around her. But now she's at the center of a terrifying situation that no one could have anticipated. Two police officers, stern and unyielding, forcefully restrain her, her hands gripping her arms with an intensity that belies the peaceful woman they're dealing with. Lisa's heart pounds in her chest as she tries to stay calm, but the fear is overwhelming. She doesn't understand why this is happening. She hasn't done anything wrong. She's not resisting, but the officers seem determined to treat her as if she's a dangerous criminal. The tightness of their grip and the coldness in their eyes only add to her confusion and dread. Welcome back to PlotTwister. Before we unravel today's mystery, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell so you're always in the loop. As the police pin Lisa to the ground, the neighborhood watches in shock. Mrs. Green, an elderly neighbor who has known Lisa since she moved in, gasps and clutches her chest. Others in the crowd begin to murmur, their voices a mix of anger and disbelief. A few people pull out their phones, recording the incident, their hands shaking with the adrenaline of the moment. They can't believe what they're seeing. This is Lisa, the woman who always has a smile and a kind word for everyone. How could this be happening to her? Maya, just 8 years old, stands frozen on the front porch, clutching her stuffed bear tightly. Tears stream down her face as she watches her mother being taken away by the very people she was taught to trust. The sight of her mother on the ground, helpless and scared, is something she'll never forget. The tension in the air is palpable, growing thicker with every passing second. The neighbors' fear turns to anger, their disbelief into outrage. This isn't just about Lisa anymore. It's about the safety and justice they all believed in, now shattered in front of their eyes. But as they watch Lisa being taken away, they have no idea that what happens next will change everything. Lisa's breath comes in short, panicked gasps as she struggles to make sense of what's happening. Her cheek is pressed against the rough pavement, the cold seeping through her skin as one officer, Officer Daniels, roughly forces her arms behind her back. The pressure on her wrists is unbearable, and she flinches as the handcuffs snap shut around them. She isn't resisting, but her body shakes with the shock of being treated like a criminal. Her mind races, trying to remember what she could have done to deserve this. Around her, the neighborhood erupts into a chaotic mix of voices. Some are shouting, pleading with the officers to stop, while others stand in stunned silence, unable to comprehend the brutality they're witnessing. Mrs. Green, her voice cracking with emotion, steps forward, her hand outstretched as if she somehow reached Lisa and pull her away from this nightmare. But a stern look from another officer keeps her at bay, her voice lost in the growing din. Lisa's heart breaks as she catches a glimpse of Maya still on the porch, her small frame trembling with fear. Lisa wants to call out to her to tell her everything will be okay, but the words catch in her throat. All she can do is close her eyes and pray that Maya won't have to remember the moment for the rest of her life. The scene escalates as more police cars arrive, blocking off the street, their lights flashing ominously in the evening light. The crowd of neighbors grows, and so does their anger. Phones are out, recording every second, capturing the way Officer Daniels kneels on Lisa's back, his weight pressing down on her as if she's some kind of threat. Lisa cries out in pain, but her voice is swallowed by the chaos around her. In the midst of this, Lisa's mind flashes back to earlier that day when she and Maya had been playing in their small backyard, the sun shining down on them as they laughed and enjoyed their time together. It had been an ordinary, peaceful day, a stark contrast to the horror she's now living through. But there's no time to dwell on that memory. Lisa is pulled to her feet, her arms wrenched painfully behind her as she's led toward a police car. The world around her blurs, the shouts of her neighbors mixing with the pounding of her heart in her ears. She feels the weight of every eye on her, every phone recording her, but she's powerless to do anything but stumble forward as the officers push her into the back seat. As the door slams shut, the sound reverberates through the neighborhood, signaling the end of the life Lisa once knew. The car pulls away, leaving behind a street filled with disbelief, anger, and fear. A neighborhood forever changed by what they've just witnessed. Lisa sits in the cold, dimly lit holding cell, her body aching from the rough handling. The bruises on her wrist throb beneath the tight metal of the handcuffs, and her mind is a whirlwind of confusion and fear. She can't stop replaying the events over and over in her head, trying to make sense of how an ordinary day had turned into this nightmare. Her thoughts constantly drift to Maya, wondering if she's safe, if she's being comforted, or if she's scared and alone. The concrete walls of the cell feel like they're closing in on her, suffocating her as she battles the rising panic. She's always been strong, always fought for a better life for her and Maya, but right now she feels completely powerless. The sound of distant voices and the clinking of keys from somewhere outside the cell offer little comfort. She's trapped in this moment with no idea what's coming next. Meanwhile, back in the neighborhood, word of Lisa's arrest spread like wildfire. The shock of what happened turns into outrage. Neighbors who had always seen their street as a safe and supportive place now feel betrayed by the very system meant to protect them. The video of Lisa's arrest, captured by multiple phones, circulates on social media, quickly gaining attention. People are horrified by the brutality they witness, and the hashtags #JusticeForLisa and #StopPoliceBrutality begin trending. In the middle of this, Maya is being looked after by Mr. Thompson, an older neighbor who's known Lisa since she moved in. He tries his best to comfort her, offering her cookies and letting her watch cartoons, but nothing can erase the image of her mother being taken away. She clings to her stuffed bear, her eyes wide and distant, as if she's in a world far away from the familiar surroundings of Mr. Thomas's living room. The emotional toll weighs heavy on everyone. Neighbors gather in small groups, discussing what they saw, their voices filled with anger and disbelief. Mrs. Green, still shaken, calls her children to tell them what happened, her voice trembling as she relives the moment Lisa was pinned to the ground. The neighborhood, once a tight-knit community, now feels fractured, divided between the shock of the incident and the urgent need for justice. Back in the cell, Lisa fights to hold on to hope. She knows she needs to stay strong for Maya, but every second that passes chips away at her resolve. She wonders how things could ever go back to normal, or if they even can. But deep down, a small part of her refuses to give up, even in the face of such overwhelming odds. The neighborhood that once buzzed with the sound of kids playing and neighbors chatting now hums with a different energy. Outrage and determination have taken hold, and the community rallies together like never before. The video of Lisa's brutal arrest has sparked something deep within the residents, something that refuses to be silenced. Word spread quickly about a protest. It starts small, with a few neighbors gathering on the corner where Lisa was arrested. They hold signs hastily made but full of meaning. Justice for Lisa, end police brutality, we are watching. The crowd grows steadily as more people join in, driven by a shared sense of justice. What began as a neighborhood gathering soon draws in others from surrounding areas. Friends, family, and even strangers who saw the video online are felt compelled to stand with them. The atmosphere is tense but united. The diverse crowd, young and old, black and white, men and women, chant in unison, their voices echoing down the streets. Lisa's friends, people who's known her for years, speak passionately about the kind of person she is. They tell stories of her kindness, her strength, her unwavering dedication to her daughter. Their words aren't just for the crowd, they're for the cameras, the journalists who've arrived to cover the growing movement. The neighborhood is making sure the world hears their message loud and clear. As the protest grows, so does the media attention. Reporters interview neighbors, capturing their outrage and their hope. Local news stations broadcast the event live, and story gains national traction. Lisa's name becomes a rallying cry, a symbol of a much larger issue that extends far beyond this one neighborhood. In the middle of the protest, amidst the noise and the chaos, one figure stands out: Officer Martinez. He watches from the sidelines, his face conflicted. He was there that night, he saw everything, but he had done nothing. Guilt weighs heavily on him as he listens to the voices calling for justice, knowing that he holds a truth that could change everything. He clutches the evidence in his pocket, his heart pounding as he battles with his conscience. The weight of his silence feels heavier with each passing minute. As the day turns to night, the protest doesn't wane, it strengthens. The neighborhood has come alive with a purpose, every chant, every sign, a declaration that they will not be ignored. They demand justice, not just for Lisa, but for every person who has ever been mistreated or silenced. And in the midst of this powerful movement, something begins to shift. The neighborhood, once quiet and unassuming, has become a force to be reckoned with. The world is watching, and they're ready to fight for what's right. As the protest reaches its peak, the air is thick with anticipation. The crowd, now larger than ever, fills the streets, their chants echoing off the buildings. The neighborhood is no longer just a backdrop, it's the heart of a movement, pulsing with energy and resolve. But amidst the unity, one person stands apart, carrying the weight of a secret that could change everything. Officer Martinez knows he can't stay silent any longer. The guilt has been gnawing at him, and the sight of the community rallying behind Lisa pushes him to the breaking point. With trembling hands, he makes his way through the crowd, heading toward the small group of journalists who have been covering the protest since it began. The evidence in his pocket feels like it's burning a hole through him, demanding to be revealed. He steps forward, his voice shaky but determined, and addresses the reporters. He confesses everything: the wrongful arrest, the unnecessary brutality, and the truth that Lisa was never a threat. As he speaks, he hands over the body cam footage he'd been hiding, footage that shows the entire incident from start to finish. The journalists, initially shocked, quickly realize the magnitude of what they've been handed. The cameras turn toward Martinez, capturing his every word as he finally does what he knows is right. The revelation spreads like wildfire. Within hours, the footage is all over the news, shared across social media, and broadcasted to millions. The impact is immediate. Public outrage turns into demands for action, and under the mounting pressure, the police department is forced to respond. The charges against Lisa are dropped, and the police chief makes a public statement, announcing that Officer Daniels has been suspended pending a full investigation. The neighborhood erupts in celebration as the news breaks. The sense of relief is palpable, as if a heavy weight has finally been lifted. People embrace each other, tears of joy mixing with the earlier tears of anger and frustration. For Lisa, the nightmare is over. She is released from custody and returns home to Maya, where they share a tearful, joyous reunion. Maya clings to her mother, refusing to let go, and Lisa holds her close, whispering reassurances that everything is going to be okay. In the days that follow, the community continues to stand together, stronger than ever. Lisa, once a victim of injustice, becomes a voice for change, speaking at rallies and community meetings, determined to make sure that what happened to her never happens again. The neighborhood, once shaken by fear and anger, now shines as a beacon of hope and resilience. What are your thoughts on the twist we uncovered today? Comment your ideas below. Make sure to like and subscribe for a daily dose of drama and mystery. See you later with another twist. Racist deputy demands black woman to open trunk, but wasn't aware she was recording him. Sheila Parker's day had been long. She was tired, eager to go home, and ready to leave the stress of work behind her. The quiet hum of the engine and the empty road ahead were the only things keeping her company as she made her way through the dimly lit streets. The clock on her dashboard showed it was just past 11 p.m., and she was looking forward to nothing more than slipping into her comfortable bed. The night was peaceful, the kind where the silence wraps around you like a blanket. Sheila's thoughts drifted, her mind replaying the events of the day, but her monetary peace was abruptly shattered. Out of nowhere, the sharp wails of sirens filled the air. The bright blue and red lights flashed in her rear-view mirror. Her heart skipped a beat as she glanced back, seeing a police cruiser closing in behind her. Sheila's mind raced, trying to figure out why she was being pulled over. She wasn't speeding, and her car was in perfect working order. She took a deep breath and slowly pulled over to the side of the road, her hands gripping the steering wheel a little tighter than before. The sirens ceased, but the flashing lights continued to cast eerie shadows around her. As she sat there waiting for the officer to approach, a mix of anxiety and frustration bubbled up inside her. This wasn't the first time she'd been pulled over for no apparent reason. The uncomfortable thought that this might just be one of those nights crept into her mind, but she quickly pushed it aside, hoping for the best. Welcome back to PlotTwister. Before we unravel today's mystery, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell so you're always in the loop. From her side mirror, Sheila watched as the deputy exited his vehicle. He was a tall man, his silhouette imposing as he made his way toward her. The flashlight in his hand swung side to side, its beam piercing through the night. The light was harsh as it hit her face, forcing her to squint. She couldn't make out the deputy's face, but his voice was unmistakable, deep, stern, and devoid of warmth. He asked for her license and registration in a tone that suggested this wasn't a request, but an order. Sheila complied, reaching for her documents with hands that she willed to stay steady. That night, which had begun so peacefully, had taken a turn she hadn't anticipated, and a sense of unease settled in the pit of her stomach. The deputy examined Sheila's documents with an intensity that felt unwarranted. His eyes narrowed as he flipped through her license and registration, his brow furrowed as if searching for something to justify his scrutiny. Sheila sat silently, watching him through the rearview mirror, her unease growing with every passing second. His questions came quickly, almost too quickly, as if he was trying to catch her off guard. Where are you coming from? Where are you headed? Why are you out so late? The tone was more accusatory than inquisitive, and Sheila felt her pulse quicken. She answered each question calmly, but her mind was racing. She couldn't understand why this simple traffic stop felt like more of an interrogation. Without warning, the deputy's demeanor shifted. He ordered Sheila to step out of the car and open the trunk. The request was abrupt, and it hit her like a slap. Sheila blinked in surprise, her mouth opening to ask why, but the words caught in her throat. The deputy's gaze was hard, his stance unyielding, and she realized that this wasn't a request she could easily refuse. Sheila's fingers trembled slightly as she unbuckled her seatbelt and pushed open the car door. The night air was cool against her skin, but it did nothing to soothe the nervous energy building inside her. She walked to the back of the car, feeling the deputy's eyes on her the entire time. The trunk release clicked under her touch, and the lid lifted slowly, revealing the contents inside. Sheila stepped back, giving the deputy space to inspect, but something about his behavior felt off. He wasn't really looking at the items in the trunk. Instead, he seemed more interested in the act of making her comply. His eyes darted around, almost as if he was searching for a reason to escalate the situation further. The tension between them was thick, an invisible line that Sheila feared might snap at any moment. The deputy's voice, louder now, demanded to know why she had hesitated earlier. Sheila, her nerves fraying, answered as best she could, trying to keep her voice steady, but inside the fear was growing. The realization that this encounter was becoming something much more than a routine traffic stop. Sheila could feel her heart pounding in her chest as she stood by the open trunk, trying to maintain her composure. The night air, once cool, now felt suffocating, pressing in on her from all sides. The deputy's presence was overwhelming, his gaze sharp and unyielding as if he could see right through her. Every movement he made felt like a threat, and Sheila's instincts screamed at her that something wasn't right. She hadn't expected this. What should have been a routine traffic stop was spiraling into something far more sinister. The way the deputy lingered, the way he asked his questions, with that undercurrent of suspicion, it all felt wrong. Sheila's fear grew with each passing moment, a gnawing anxiety that settled deep in her stomach. She knew she had done nothing wrong, but the intensity of the situation made her question everything. As the deputy circled her car, his flashlight beam cutting through the darkness, Sheila's thoughts raced. She tried to focus on staying calm, but it was becoming increasingly difficult. She could feel the weight of the situation bearing down on her, the uncertainty of what might happen next. Every word she spoke, every move she made, was calculated to avoid further escalation, but it was like walking on a tightrope. One wrong step, and everything could come crashing down. Then came the deputy's words, cutting through the silence like a knife. His voice was low, almost like a growl, as he muttered something about people like her. The insinuation was clear, and it hit Sheila like a punch to the gut. Her mind raced, trying to process the hostility behind those words. She felt exposed, vulnerable in a way she hadn't expected, and the fear inside her swelled, threatening to overtake her. Sheila stood there, frozen, her thoughts a tangled mess of fear and disbelief. She knew she needed to stay strong, to keep her head clear, but the situation was slipping out of her control. The deputy's presence was overpowering, his intentions unclear, and Sheila couldn't shake the feeling that she was trapped in a situation that was rapidly spiraling out of her hands. The night, once a refuge, now felt like a prison. Sheila's fear was no longer just a nagging feeling. It was real, tangible, and growing with every passing second. She was caught in a web of uncertainty, unsure of what to do next, as the weight of the moment pressed down on her, making it hard to breathe. Just as the tension reached its peak, the low rumble of another engine broke through the silence. Sheila's heart skipped a beat as she saw another set of headlights approaching. For a moment, time seemed to slow. The new arrival, another police car, pulled up behind the first, its lights flashing in the night. Sheila's mind raced with questions. Was this going to make things worse, or could this be the break she needed? From the second cruiser, a young officer stepped out, Deputy Sarah Lopez. Her name badge gleamed under the flashing lights. Approached with a calm but alert demeanor. Unlike the first deputy, her expression was neutral. Her steps measured. She quickly took in the scene. The open trunk. Sheila's tense posture and the way Deputy Wilson seemed to loom over her. Deputy Lopez greeted Sheila with a nod, her tone even almost kind. The contrast between her and Wilson was stark. Sheila felt a small flicker of hope, though she didn't let herself relax just yet. Lopez asked a few straightforward questions, her eyes occasionally darting to Wilson, who now stood a few paces away, watching the interaction closely. The air was thick with unspoken tension. Wilson's eyes narrowed as Lopez continued her questioning, and it was clear he wasn't pleased with her interference. But Lopez wasn't deterred. She turned to Wilson, her voice firm as she asked why Sheila had been pulled over and what had prompted the trunk search. There was a pause, a heavy, uncomfortable silence, as Wilson hesitated, his authority seemingly challenged for the first time that night. Wilson's response was curt, defensive. He tried to justify his actions, but Lopez wasn't easily convinced. Sheila could see the gears turning in Lopez's mind, her suspicion growing as she pieced together the situation. The balance of power had subtly shifted, and Sheila could sense it. Lopez's presence was a buffer, a potential lifeline in this increasingly hostile encounter. Lopez turned back to Sheila, her voice quieter, more personal. She asked if everything was okay, her concern genuine. Sheila hesitated for a moment, then did something she hadn't planned. She mentioned the recording. The words hung in the air, and for a moment, everything seemed to stop. Wilson's face tightened, a flicker of something. Anger? Fear? Crossing his features. Lopez's eyes sharpened, understanding dawning as the situation took an unexpected turn. Deputy Lopez's eyes widened slightly as Sheila mentioned the recording. The atmosphere shifted instantly. The power that Deputy Wilson had wielded so freely moments before now felt fragile, like it could shatter with a single word. Lopez asked Sheila to show her the video, her voice steady but laced with urgency. Sheila, her hand still trembling, fumbled with her phone before finally pulling up the recording. The air was thick with anticipation as Lopez watched the video. The glow of the screen reflected on her face, her expression growing more serious with each passing second. Wilson stood off to the side, visibly uncomfortable, shifting his weight from foot to foot. His earlier confidence was drained away, replaced by a tense, almost fearful look. He knew what was coming. After what felt like an eternity, Lopez finished watching the video. She looked up at Sheila, her expression a mix of sympathy and determination. Then turning to Wilson, her tone became authoritative, cutting through the night air like a knife. She asked him to step away from the vehicle, her words leaving no room for argument. Wilson, clearly aware of the implications, hesitated before complying, his movements stiff and reluctant. Lopez's focus shifted entirely to Sheila now. She reassured her that what was happening was not okay, and that she had every right to feel wronged. Her words were a lifeline, something solid for Sheila to hold on to after the whirlwind of fear and confusion. Lopez explained that she would be filing a report based on the video, ensuring that this encounter would not be swept under the rug. Wilson, now standing by his patrol car, tried to defend himself, his voice lacking the commanding presence it had before. He stammered through an explanation, but the damage was done. Lopez didn't waver, her stance firm as she informed him that an internal investigation would follow. The shift in power was complete. What had begun as an attempt to intimidate Sheila had backfired spectacularly. Sheila felt a wave of relief wash over her as Lopez handed her phone back. The nightmare was finally ending. She was free to leave, but not without the assurance that justice would be sought. As she drove away, the tension slowly unwinding from her body, she couldn't help but feel grateful that she had trusted her instincts to record the interaction. That decision had turned the tide, ensuring that the night ended not in fear, but in a small but significant victory. What are your thoughts on the twist we uncovered today? Comment your ideas below. Make sure to like and subscribe for a daily dose of drama and mystery. See you later with another twist. Racist cops arrest black innocent woman. They're shocked when they see who she is. It's a quiet evening in a suburban neighborhood, the kind of place where kids play outside until dusk, and neighbors exchange polite nods on their way home. But tonight the tranquility is broken by the distant sound of police sirens growing louder with every passing second. Angela Brown walks briskly down the sidewalk, her heels clicking against the pavement, the sound almost drowned out by the approaching chaos. She's dressed sharply, her tailored suit and polished demeanor making it clear she's coming from an important meeting. Angela carries herself with confidence, her thoughts occupied with the events of the day, unaware of the storm that's about to hit her. A police car rounds the corner and slowly rolls to a stop beside her. Angela notices it but keeps walking, assuming they're on their way to a more urgent matter. But then the car stays with her, inching forward as she moves. Her pace quickens slightly, a subconscious reaction to the unsettling presence beside her. Finally, the car siren blares once, sharply, and she stops, turning to face the two officers who are now stepping out. Welcome back to PlotTwister. Before we unravel today's mystery, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell so you're always in the loop. The first officer, Derek, is tall and imposing, his hand resting on the belt of his uniform near his holstered gun. The other, Johnson, follows closely, his expression unreadable beneath the brim of his cap. Angela feels a twinge of discomfort as they approach her, but she pushes it aside, smiling politely as they near. "Evening, ma'am," Derek says, his tone flat, almost mechanical. "We're going to need to see some ID." Angela's smile falters. There's no explanation, no reason giving, just a demand. She hesitates for a moment, but then reaches into her bag, pulling out her driver's license. She hands it over, watching as Derek scrutinizes it, while Johnson looks her over with a critical eye. The seconds stretch on, the silence heavy between them. Angela finally speaks, her voice calm but firm. "Is there a problem, officers?" Derek looks up from her ID, his gaze hard. "We've had reports of suspicious activity in the area, and you match the description." Angela's heart skips a beat, the tension between them thickening, but she stands her ground, refusing to let fear take over. "I live around here," she says, but the officers don't seem to hear her. The neighborhood's quiet is now replaced by a growing tension of the unfolding scene. The air feels heavier as Angela stands there waiting for the officers to say something more, but their silence is unnerving. Officer Derek stares at her ID for a moment longer before handing it back, though his suspicion hasn't faded. His eyes narrow as he continues to scrutinize her, as if searching for something to confirm his doubts. Angela, sensing the shift in his demeanor, tries to keep her voice steady. She explains that she's just returning home from a business meeting, hoping that her calmness will diffuse the situation. But Derek doesn't seem interested in her explanation. His partner, Johnson, steps closer, his posture rigid, and asks what she was doing in the area. Angela repeats herself, the unease now creeping into her voice. It's clear that her words aren't getting through to them. A small crowd starts to gather at a distance, drawn by the sight of the police car and the tension between the officers and Angela. Some neighbors watch from their porches. Others cautiously pull out their phones to record the scene, sensing that something isn't right. Derek's patience seems to wear thin as Angela questions why they're holding her up. He avoids her question, instead asking to search her bag. Angela hesitates, knowing her rights, but aware of the delicate situation. She calmly asserts that she hasn't done anything wrong, and doesn't see why a search is necessary. The response doesn't sit well with Derek. His expression hardens as he steps forward, searching for her arm. Angela's heart pounds in her chest as she feels the cold metal of the handcuffs against her skin. She doesn't resist, knowing that any struggle could escalate things further. Still, the humiliation of being cuffed in front of her neighbors, of being treated like a criminal, cuts deep. She tries to keep her composure, but the fear and frustration are unmistakable in her eyes. The crowd murmurs, growing more restless. A few people shout out, questioning the officers' actions, accusing them of racial profiling. The officers remain unmoved. They are focused solely on Angela as they lead her to the back of the police car. Her mind races, trying to process what's happening. But the reality of the situation is overwhelming. As she's driven away, the neighbors watch in stunned silence, the injustice hanging heavy in the air. Angela is escorted to the police station, her wrists still cuffed, the cold metal biting into her skin. The station's fluorescent lights flicker overhead, casting a harsh glow on the sterile, unwelcoming environment. Officer Derek and Officer Johnson lead her through the station, ignoring her quiet request to have the cuffs removed. She's directed to a small holding cell, the door clanging shut behind her with a finality that sends a chill down her spine. Inside the cell, Angela paces, her mind racing. The room is small and bare, with nothing but a metal bench along one wall. She tries to steady her breathing, focusing on staying calm, but it's hard. The reality of being behind bars, even temporarily, is overwhelming. She knows she's done nothing wrong, but here she is, treated like a criminal. Her thoughts flicker to the people she passed in the neighborhood, to the looks on their faces as she was taken away. She wonders what they're thinking now, what they'll say about her. Outside the cell, Derek and Johnson are at the front desk processing her paperwork with an air of casual detachment. They still believe they've apprehended the right person, convinced that Angela is somehow involved in the crimes they're investigating. The two officers share a quiet, smug exchange, oblivious to the gravity of their mistake. Meanwhile, in another part of the station, Officer Hernandez, a Latina officer with a sharp eye for detail, catches wind of the situation. Something about the case bothers her. The way it's been handled, the lack of clear evidence, and the fact that Angela's story doesn't add up with the profile of the suspect they're looking for. Intrigued, she decides to dig a little deeper. Hernandez pulls up Angela's file on her computer and starts reading through it. The more she reads, the more the pieces don't fit. Angela's background, her career, her connections in the community, none of it matches the profile of a criminal. Hernandez's concern grows as she realizes just how wrong the situation might be. Determined to get to the bottom of it, Hernandez marches over to Derek and Johnson. She confronts them, questioning their decision to arrest Angela without concrete evidence. Her voice is calm but firm, and her challenge forces them to reconsider, albeit reluctantly. The tension in the air builds as they all sense that this case is far from closed. Outside, the murmurs of a crowd can be heard through the walls. The growing unrest a reminder that the world is watching. Officer Hernandez, feeling the weight of what she's uncovered, doesn't hesitate. She walks straight to Captain Rogers' office, her expression set with determination. The captain looks up from his desk, surprised by the urgency in her voice as she explains the situation. Hernandez lays out the facts, the discrepancies, and the clear signs that Angela has been wrongfully detained. The captain's face hardens as he listens, realizing the severity of the mistake that's been made. Without wasting a moment, Captain Rogers orders Angela's immediate release. He's furious that such a blunder occurred on his watch and that an innocent woman has been treated so unjustly. The tension in the station is palpable as Hernandez quickly moves to follow his orders, her footsteps echoing in the hallway as she heads back to the holding cell. In the cell, Angela sits on the metal bench, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. She's trying to keep her composure, but the hours of uncertainty have taken their toll. When Hernandez arrives and unlocks the cell door, Angela looks up, her eyes filled with a mixture of relief and lingering fear. Hernandez speaks to her gently, explaining that she's been released and offering a quiet apology for everything she's been through. As Angela steps out of the cell, she's met by Captain Rogers. He stands before her, a stern expression on his face. But there's a softness in his eyes as he apologizes for the grave mistake that was made. Angela listens, but the apology feels insufficient against the backdrop of her experience. Still, she nods, her silence speaking volumes about the emotional turmoil she's endured. Outside the station, the crowd has grown larger, and news cameras are now capturing the scene. Reporters jostle for position, eager to get a statement from Angela as she exits the building. Angela pauses at the top of the station steps, the weight of the moment sinking in. She's exhausted, but she knows she has to speak. Facing the cameras, Angela addresses the crowd. Her voice is steady as she talks about the importance of justice, about the need for systematic change to prevent this from happening to anyone else. The crowd listens intently, her words resonating deeply. There's a sense of unity, of shared outrage, and a collective determination to demand accountability. Back inside the station, Derek and Johnson stand off to the side, their faces pale as they watch the scene unfold. The realization of their error hits them hard, but there's no going back. The atmosphere is heavy with the knowledge that this moment will have lasting consequences, both for them and the department. The turning point has been reached, and the path forward is uncertain. But one thing is clear, Angela's story is far from over. As Angela prepares to leave the police station, she pauses in the lobby, taking a deep breath. The ordeal has been harrowing, but she knows she must stay composed. As she gathers her belongings, Officer Derek, still reeling from the events, approaches her hesitantly. His face is pale, his previous confidence replaced by uncertainty. He stumbles over his words, clearly struggling with what to say, but he finally asks her what she does for a living. There's a desperate need in his voice, as if understanding her background might somehow make sense of the mistake they've made. Angela, calm but resolute, looks him directly in the eye. Her voice is measured, carrying the weight of the truth she's about to reveal. She tells him that she's the newly appointed Chief Justice of the state Supreme Court. The words hang in the air like a bombshell, the full impact of her revelation slowly dawning on Derek and everyone within earshot. The shock on Derek's face is unmistakable. His eyes widen and his breath catches in his throat. He realizes in that moment the gravity of what he and his partner have done. They didn't just wrongfully arrest an innocent woman. They violated the rights of someone who represents the very highest ideals of justice. The entire station seems to freeze, the weight of the revelation settling over the room like a heavy blanket. The officers around them exchange uneasy glances, the reality of the situation hitting them hard. Captain Rogers, standing nearby, stiffens, knowing that this incident will have serious repercussions for his department. The tension is thick and suffocating, as everyone grapples with the consequences of their actions. Outside, the crowd continues to chant for justice, their voices growing louder as Angela steps out of the station. The media, hungry for a story, swarms her, but she remains composed. She speaks briefly, her words firm but measured, emphasizing the importance of accountability and systemic reform. The cameras flash, capturing her every word, every expression. Her calm demeanor in the face of such adversity only strengthens her message. What are your thoughts on the twist we uncovered today? Comment your ideas below. Make sure to like and subscribe for a daily dose of drama and mystery. See you later with another twist.
The morning sun pours into Sarah's little bakery as the bell above the door chimes repeatedly, signaling the start of a new day. The smell of fresh bread and cinnamon swirls in the air as Sarah, with a practiced hand, pipes icing onto cupcakes and serves up steaming cups of coffee. Her laughter is genuine, and her energy is infectious. She knows most of her customers by name, asking about their kids and their jobs, making each feel like the most important person in the room. This is her world, a hub of community and warmth in the heart of the city. Meanwhile, just a few blocks away, Jason settles onto the cold concrete. His spot for the day is against a fence, the city's bustle unfolding around him like a movie he's no longer a part of. People pass by, some with averted gazes, others with a nod, but most are lost in the rhythms of their own lives. His sign, "Hungry, anything helps," flutters in the breeze. Another piece of the scenery rarely noticed. Welcome back to PlotTwister. Before we unravel today's mystery, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell so you're always in the loop. As the afternoon sun begins its descent, Sarah steps out for a breath of fresh air. It's then that she sees Jason. Their eyes meet. No words are needed. She returns to the bakery and soon emerges with a sandwich, the kind made with care. The handoff is simple, a moment of humanity against the backdrop of a city that never pauses. For Jason, it's a rare taste of kindness, a reminder that hope is sometimes handed to you on rye bread with a side of compassion. Unbeknownst to Sarah, their exchange has attracted attention. A figure, obscured by the distance, takes note. The figure's interest seems piqued, not by the act of charity, but by the recipient. This interest is silent, watchful, and as the day wanes, it becomes a shadow that clings to the edges of our story, silent yet charged with intent. As the sun sets, casting long shadows on the streets, Sarah closes up her bakery. She's content, feeling that today she's made a small difference. Jason finds a corner to settle in for the night, the sandwich a small buffer against the gnawing in his stomach. Both are unaware of the eyes that have followed their interaction, unaware that this day of all days has set a chain of events in motion that will soon come knocking in the most unexpected of ways. Sarah's morning began as it always did, with the whir of the coffee grinder and the sweet aroma of pastries in the oven. But amidst the morning rush, a flicker of unease brushed her spine, a sensation she couldn't place. She shrugged it off, chalked it up to a lack of sleep or maybe too much caffeine, but the feeling lingered, stubborn as a stain. The bakery, a hive of activity, saw the ebb and flow of patrons, yet today the bell above the door seemed to toll with a different timbre. Midday approached, and with it came a phone call. Sarah answered, expecting the usual supplier chat, but instead silence greeted her before the line went dead. An innocent wrong number, perhaps, but it left her with a knot in her stomach that wasn't there before. Later, as Sarah tidies the counters and lined up the day's remaining pastries, a series of peculiar events unfolded. A customer lingered a little too long, a car parked across the street sat with its engine running, and the sense that she was being watched grew from a whisper to a shout in the back of her mind. She told herself it was nothing, just the fatigue speaking. The bakery closed, the sun dipped below the skyline, and the neighborhood settled into the quiet of the evening. But the silhouette of an unmarked car lingered, the glow of its occupants' devices casting an eerie light. Figures in the car appeared to be surveying Sarah's home, their presence an unspoken threat veiled by the night. Sarah drew the curtains tighter that night, a shiver running down her spine. Night wrapped around the city, a blanket under which its inhabitants found rest, but for Sarah, sleep was elusive. She turned over in bed, the events of the day replaying in her mind like a film stuck on loop. The strange phone call, the idling car, the prickling sensation of eyes on her, all these things wove a tapestry of tension that hung heavy in her room. As she finally drifted to sleep, she couldn't shake the feeling that the world she knew was about to change. Before the sun had even dared to peek above the horizon, the sound of a door being forcefully knocked would have jolted anyone awake. That morning, the sound thundered against Sarah's front door. Disoriented, she stumbled from her bed, her heart pounding against her ribs as if trying to escape. The authoritative voices that followed were just as startling, demanding she open up. As the door burst open, Sarah stood frozen, a flood of uniformed officers pouring into her home. They moved with precision, their heavy boots marring the softness of her living room rug. Their hands steady as they raised their weapons and shouted commands that tangled in the early morning haze. Sarah could only muster a weak, "What's going on?" Her voice was a fragile thing amidst the chaos. The officers were methodical, flipping cushions, opening drawers, their hands clad in gloves as they sifted through Sarah's life with invasive curiosity. Every family photo was inspected, every book removed from its shelf. The sanctity of her home was shattered, leaving her feeling exposed and vulnerable. Sarah watched, helpless, as her world was turned inside out, with no explanation as to why. In a small, sterile room with nothing but a table and 2 chairs, Sarah sat across from an officer whose badge read interrogator. Questions were fired at her like bullets from a gun. They asked about her whereabouts, her relationships, her recent interactions. Sarah's responses stumbled out, tripping over confusion and fear. She repeated over and over that she had no idea why this was happening, her innocence a chorus that fell on deaf ears. Outside, neighbors gathered in small, worried clusters, their faces etched with concern. They whispered amongst themselves, speculating, wondering if the Sarah they knew was not who she seemed. Rumors began to take root, spreading through the crowd like wildfire. Sarah, the heart of the neighborhood, the woman who knew their coffee orders by heart, was now the center of a spectacle none could comprehend. The sense of community that Sarah had fostered seemed to waver in the face of the unknown. The day after the raid, the once bright interior of Sarah's bakery seemed to absorb the mood of its owner, muted and shadowed despite the morning light. Sarah moved through the motions, serving customers with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. In the quieter moments, her gaze would drift off, lost in thought. Regulars exchanged concerned glances but said nothing. The air was thick with unasked questions. In the midst of kneading dough, Sarah paused. Her hands, once sure and steady, now trembled slightly as she replayed the raid over in her mind. There had to be a reason, a mistake, something that led the officers to her doorstep. Determined, she wiped her hands on her apron and decided she needed to find answers. Officer Martinez walked into the bakery, his uniform standing out against the backdrop of pastel tablecloths. The customers' chatter dipped to a hush. Sarah's heart skipped. Was he here for her? But his approach was friendly, his demeanor open. He ordered a coffee and, with a sympathetic tilt of his head, offered a listening ear. Sarah sensed an ally. In a conversation that was equal parts questioning and cathartic, Sarah learned of a manhunt that had gripped the area, a fugitive, dangerous, and elusive. Officer Martinez spoke in generalities, careful not to breach protocol, but his eyes held a message of consolation. It was a case of mistaken identity, he implied. Wrong place, wrong time, but he couldn't say more. The bakery's door chimed as the last customer left, leaving Sarah alone with her thoughts. It was then that she noticed a new face across the street, a man shrouded in the anonymity of the city, yet whose attention seemed firmly fixed on the bakery. He didn't enter, nor did he move on, his stillness a stark contrast to the city's rhythm. Sarah felt a new thread of the mystery tug at her, the presence of this observer, a silent puzzle piece in a game she didn't understand. As dawn broke over the city, Sarah, with dark circles under her eyes, began piecing together the scattered jigsaw of her situation. She retraced her steps, pondered every recent interaction, and questioned the fleeting faces that had become a part of her daily routine. There was a missing link somewhere, a detail she was overlooking, and she was determined to uncover it. At the bakery, in between serving the swirl-topped cupcakes and frothy lattes, Sarah replayed her conversation with Officer Martinez. His words were a coded message, one she was slowly deciphering. The vague references to the manhunt, the implicit assurance of her innocence, it all pointed to something more than just being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Mid-afternoon, as the bell above the door announced another visitor, Sarah looked up to find Officer Martinez stepping in, not as a law enforcer, but as a bearer of news. He revealed, in hushed tones meant only for her, that the fugitive they had been chasing bore a striking resemblance to an acquaintance of hers. The revelation sent a shock through her. Could it really be someone she knew? As the pieces fell into place, a look of understanding washed over Sarah. She remembered the stranger from the day before, his out-of-place demeanor, his watchful eyes. It was then she saw him again, outside, looking in with a strange focus. Her breath caught in her throat as realization dawned. He was not just a passerby. His attention was not born of curiosity, but of duty. The bakery's warm atmosphere filled with a new sense of hope as Sarah's neighbors and friends, once so shaken by the sight of police tape and flashing lights, now rallied around her. The sense of community that had been tested was now stronger than ever. They organized support, lined up at her door not just for her pastries, but to stand by her in solidarity. As evening set in, Sarah's once upturned world began to right itself. Jason, the man she'd helped, returned to the bakery, not as a figure of sympathy, but as a success story. With the community's help, he had found a job and a place to stay. He was no longer just a man on the street, he was part of the community, part of the story's happy ending. The twist had unraveled, and with it, the tension eased. Sarah's bakery thrived once again, not just as a place for sweets and treats, but as a symbol of resilience, a testament to the spirit of the neighborhood. And as the open sign flickered to life each morning, it wasn't just announcing the start of business, it was a beacon of the unwavering strength found in kindness and unity. With the morning light casting a soft glow through the bakery windows, Sarah took a moment to savor the quiet before the day began. Today felt different. Today, she would get the final piece of the puzzle that had upended her life. Officer Martinez had promised to stop by with news, and the wait was almost over. The door chimed, and Sarah looked up to see Officer Martinez enter, his face no longer etched with the stern lines of duty, but with the gentle curves of relief. He explained that the fugitive had been caught the night before, in a scene much less dramatic than the one that had played out at Sarah's home. The chase was over, and with it, the shadow that had loomed over her life had been lifted. As Sarah listened, the tension that had coiled tight within her began to unwind. The man they had mistaken Jason for had been captured, and it was a case of mistaken identity that had led them to her door. There was an apology in Officer Martinez's tone, one that was echoed by the department. The relief was palpable, filling the bakery with an almost tangible warmth. With the truth revealed, the neighborhood began to buzz with the news. They celebrated the end of the ordeal with an impromptu gathering at Sarah's bakery, where coffee flowed freely and pastries seemed to disappear as soon as they were placed on the trays. Laughter echoed off the walls, and the air was thick with the sweet scent of baked goods and redemption. Jason stood behind the counter, no longer the man with the cardboard sign, but an employee with a badge and a purpose. He was learning the ropes quickly, his new life a stark contrast to the one he had known before. He handed a coffee to a customer, his smile genuine, a mirror of Sarah's own. The story that began with an act of kindness had come full circle. Sarah's bakery had weathered the storm and emerged as a beacon in the community. The narrative of misunderstanding and fear was replaced with one of togetherness and hope. As Sarah placed the closed sign in the window that night, she didn't just lock up her shop, she closed a chapter on an experience that would forever remind her of the strength of community and the power of a simple act of kindness. What are your thoughts on the twist we uncovered today? Comment your ideas below, and make sure to like and subscribe for a daily dose of drama and mystery. See you later with another twist.